What's up, friends? It's your boy Sky back again with part 0 movement of our Arakune tutorial series, right? So, movement, you might be wondering, well, how are you gonna make a tutorial about how to move the character? It's easy, right? It's not. It kinda is, but if you're not familiar with Arakune, it's not. Because let me tell you, friends, movement is just as important, if not more important than combos. Let me tell you. So, the way Arakune's neutral works is that he has normals that have kind of alright ranges, but you gotta know how to use them. And you gotta be in the right position to use them, right? So if you're a character that doesn't have a run, or even a hop dash, positioning's a really big deal with the character. So movement's a very big deal. So that's why there is a episode dedicated entirely to movement, and even more so, it's the first part before any of the combo stuff come in. So I mean, if you already know how to move the character, you want to move to the meat, go ahead and skip over to part 3 and part 5 and part 6 or whatever. Then that'll give you the combos and the yoki and all the good stuff that you want to see. But if you're brand new to the character, after stress, learn movement first. Super important. Moving on. Right, so let's break down Arakune's very basic movement options, right? His walk speed's no big deal, there are faster characters, there are slower characters. You're almost never going to walk with the character. Almost. Like, you may find a reason here and there to use it. More of like a mind game thing, but you're going to spend a lot of your time in the air. But there's his walk speed for you. Get used to it, right? He doesn't have hop dashes. He doesn't have a run, but he has teleport dashes, right? So, when you forward dash, you'll zip into the ground, come back up, right? It does cross up for what it's worth. It does have its uses. His back dash is the same, but it has invuln on it, right? It's also a little faster, as you can obviously see. No big deal about those. As far as movement goes, you'll probably use the forward dash a bit just to get out of the corner when your opponent's jumping in or doing something stupid. You'll backdash more defensively than you would for positioning, but just stuff to be aware of. His jump, it's not your average jump. There's nothing really special about it. He's just that he's really floaty. Right, that's another thing that you have to get used to. A lot of characters in BlazBlue aren't that floaty. They jump and they're on the ground, right? Super cool for really basic jump ins. Arakune is more floaty than that. As you see, he's just in the air for a really long time. When you jump in the air, it probably won't end with just the jump. So just be aware of the floatiness. Your opponent has to be aware of it too. And then you have his double jump, just as floaty, nothing really special about it, no big deal. And then his super jump. Arakune super jump is pretty high in the air. It's not the highest super jump, but it's pretty good. It's super cool. You will super jump quite a bit. And then he has his air dash. Arakune has 2 air dashes, right? So it's, how do I put this? It's not super special, but you can do more with it than other people can with their characters. And we'll get to that very shortly. But just for now, here's his air dash. Yeah, he has a double air dash. When Arakune jumps, he has several movement options, but he can only choose one, right? So you can choose the double jump, or you could choose to air dash, right? Or you can choose to do other stuff that we'll get to later. But you can only use your 2 air dashes on your single jump. If you double jump, you can only use one of your 2 air dashes. It's stupid, but whatever. And then he has a wall warp. I call it the wall warp because, well, that's pretty much what it is. When you're at the corner of the screen and you try to air dash back, you will warp from that side of the stage to right next to your opponent. It's good for positioning, it's good for escaping. You don't warp right next to your opponent. Let me rephrase that. You just warp to the other side. If your opponent happens to be there, then they're just there. But you'll just go to the other side of the stage. Sorry about that, misinformation. And that's pretty much it. You'll use that more for evasion. If you know a lot about curse mix-ups, you'll use it for that too. But that's the wall warp. It used to be way better, and it's still really good. And now let's get down to the meat of Arakune's movement, and that is the J4 series of moves, right? So you're probably thinking, what the hell is J4? If you know what numpad notation is, and you know what the J is, J means jump, in case you don't. You try thinking to yourself, what the hell is J4, right? Do I hold 4 while jumping? That does nothing. And you're right, it doesn't do anything. So there's a bit of a story behind that. The J4 analogy is you jump, right? And then you'll air dash, and then you'll hold 4. And what that does, it doesn't do anything on its own. But when you throw it in with any air move that doesn't change Arakune's trajectory on the way to the ground, he floats towards the ground during the air dash. So instead of explaining all that every time, the Arakune community have just shortened it to J4, right? And you can do that with, again, almost anything, right? You can do J4A, J4B. Remember this one, kids. J4C, barrier. You can do that with barrier. You can do it with throw. I think that's it. But that's the J4. So J4 is important in movement in a lot of ways. It's one of your best positioning tools, and his deeper jump ins will be really hard to answer. So that brings me into another thing about using Arakune's jump options, which he has a lot of, right? So since Arakune spends a lot of time in the air, your opponent is going to spend a lot of time trying to anti-air. It's perfectly natural. So what you have to do is to mix around your jump options to throw off their time. Right? It gets kind of tricky, especially with the different hitboxes that you will encounter. You can't approach the same character like just the same way. It's more of a matchup thing. But just be sure to remember that. It's super important about the character. You're going to spend a lot of time in the air. 2, they're going to spend a lot of time getting you out of the air. So just be aware of that. Use your air options intelligently to throw off their timing. Super important tip. And lastly, we're going to go down to his teleport specials. This is just like a brief primer. They have more usage, but you can use them in movement. So Arakune has 214 A, B, or C moves that you can use on the ground or in the air, and it's teleport, right? He fakes out like an animation that he's doing, and then boom, he's just either on the ground or in the air. It's a teleport. The teleport has like a counter hitbox that comes out. It's not really a counter hitbox, it's more of a proximity attack. It doesn't do anything if your opponent's nowhere near you, but if they're close to where you teleport, the proximity attack comes out. It's no big deal. Again, this is just a quick primer of just what you can use to throw your opponent off. And that's pretty much it for part 0. Tune in for part 1, and we're gonna go in depth on all of Arakune's moves. It'll probably be the longest video, and if you have any experience with Arakune, you'll probably skip that. But if you're brand new, you don't know what you're doing, I recommend you watch it, because we're gonna cover all of his normals, all of his specials. We're gonna cover his drive, both pre-curse and during curse, and whatever after curse that we can cover. We're gonna cover his supers. We're gonna cover his overdrives, and just everything. So be sure to tune into that, and I'll see you in the next part. See you later.